before that, we shall hear from the second speaker of today. The second speaker of today is a great storyteller and a great motivator. The energy in his speech sends positive vibes through our nerves. He has won the area level evaluation contest and is a very promising Toastmaster. Toastmasters, please join me in welcoming Ganesh Iyer on stage. He'll be giving his project 1 from
ACB 5.
ACB. He'll be giving his ACB 5 project and will be evaluated by Dirish.
So speakers delivering his ACB 5, bringing history to life. For the essence of the story is to recreate history using elements of storytelling and other aspects wherein the characters, imagery are all brought forth in a very effective manner. That's the point.
To a better life, toasted Mary Ann Nichols, to 4 of her closest friends at a noisy pub in Whitechapel. These women were into the flesh trade and were finding it difficult to eke out a living. The year was 1888 and Whitechapel was a rough and tumble district in London that was known for its grime, slums and illicit activities. After waving goodbye to her friends, she slipped into the cold London night. The cobbled streets that were lit by gas lights wore a menacing look. Toastmaster for the day, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as she entered a dark street, a tall man dressed in a trench coat, a hat and a knife in his hand started to follow her. The sound of his boots stomping the streets pierced the cold night air. And this was the last heard of her. At 4 a.m., a smart young policeman on his night duty was patrolling the streets with his kerosene lamp. As he was walking, he saw something ahead. He goes ahead to investigate, keeps his lantern high, and then, ah! He had never seen such a sight before in his life. Before him lay a dead body of a woman, brutally murdered. He quickly recovered, blew his whistle with all his might to alert the police. The police cordoned the area and the victim was identified as Mary Ann Nichols. Britain was horrified by this murder and wanted to bring the killer to justice. Frederick Aberline was chosen to be the investigative officer to head this case because he was sharp and had extensive experience in police work. As soon as he arrives at the scene, he takes a look at the body, he surveys it, and then bends down to take a closer look. His sharp eyes capture something, a sprig of grapes. This is unusual, Frederick thought to himself. Grapes were a costly fruit and none of them could afford it in Whitechapel. This must have been left by the killer, Frederick thought to himself. After a long day of police work, Frederick goes home, flings his coat off, pours himself a drink, and then sits on his favorite chair to go over the details of the case. All the leads reach a dead end. Who could have committed such a murder? Frederick thought to himself and goes into a deep slumber. 5 months roll by and then all hell break loose. 4 more women who were into the flesh trade lay murdered on the London cold. The facts of the case become even more chilling. These women were the companions of Mary Ann Nichols. After every murder, the killer sends a letter to Frederick Aberline taunting him. In that letter, he would mention that he enjoyed killing this impure woman and ended with a line, "Catch me if you can, Jack the Ripper." Newspapers get a whiff of this nickname, Jack the Ripper, and then London goes into a frenzy. You could have seen street corners having posters which screamed, "Beware of Jack the Ripper! Beware of Jack the Ripper!" Queen Victoria from the Buckingham Palace starts putting pressure on the police and on Frank Aberline. Frederick Aberline, on the other hand, was at his wit's end. The pressure by the public, the brutality of the murders, and the taunts by the killer starts affecting his personal life. One day, his wife storms him, looks at him in the eye and tells him, "Stop pursuing this case. This is affecting us." "Sweetheart, give me 2 more weeks and I shall make the streets of London safe again," pleaded Aberline. With this newfound energy, Frederick Aberline goes to work to his office to review the evidence. He then mulls over, goes into deep thought, and then eureka! It hits him that this is not just a regular killing, but this is a ritual killing. This is not just a murder of passion, but a planned killing. He quickly called all of his associates to brief them on this newfound insight. His team of detectives look at the case from this angle. They go ahead, interrogate as many suspects as possible, interview witnesses, and then look at the evidence multiple times. They work on this case for more than 20 hours a day for 3 months. And did you think that at the end of 3 months they could find the killer? They, however, had 2 suspects whom they had shortlisted. The Freemasons. This was one group who was formed centuries ago, but during the 1800s, their role was to protect Britain's monarchy. There was a rumor that Prince Edward, the son of Queen Victoria, had an affair with Mary Ann Nichols, married her, and bore a child. That child could have been an heir to the throne. Could this group have killed Mary Ann Nichols and her companions to suppress the truth? George Chapman was another killer that came into prominence. Now, he was from Poland and was in England during the time of these killings. During an interview with his wife, she mentioned that George Chapman was out in the streets at night during the time of these murders. However, this case becomes even more chilling. None of these suspects could be brought to light or could be apprehended because of the lack of evidence. The London police closed the case because there weren't any more killings. Frederick Aberline, on the other hand, retired from police service and took a job as a private investigator. The London police awarded him for his grit and determination in pursuing the killer. Ladies and gentlemen, a century has passed since this unfortunate killings. Jack the Ripper remains in people's imagination as that murderer who could not be brought to justice. The movie From Hell has a wonderful line which talks about the killing, and it says that Jack the Ripper gave birth to the chaotic 21st century.
The second speaker was Ganesh Iyer, evaluated by Drish. I think this is what we are missing.
Yes. The general evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Ganesh in particular. Ganesh, what I'd like to congratulate you for on this speech is one, the selection of a topic. You brought history to life of a topic which is not as much heard of, which actually facilitates audience attention onto a topic and drives it further. Through the entire narrative, you have held the audience attention through your descriptives, bringing forth emotion. There was stage positioning. There was a thrill to the entire aspect and keep people engrossed in terms of what's coming next. What I also liked in your delivery was an improvisation in terms of body language with respect to positioning, with respect to depiction of emotions, with respect to position, with respect to using stage as a tool to enhance your message, using stage as a tool to depict various areas that you want to, where the dead body was lying at a certain place, the family was here, he was seated here. So there were a lot of stage positioning that went into play in order to help people enhance, understand the whole story. What I also liked through the entire script was the way it was entirely knit in terms of your protagonist and the emotions that he weaves through till the end. And what I felt was the icing on the cake on this speech was the closure. There was a reasoning to the murder, and a reasoning that even to this date it has not been found. There were two aspects as to how the world is left with two thoughts as to whether it's the kingdom or another set of people who have probably been the cause of the murder, but the case remains unsolved. What I liked also was that Jack the Ripper, the quote in the movie with which you close, that has given birth to a chaotic world. So I thought that it is a beautiful summary to close the speech on. However, I have a few suggestions for you in order to improvise in the speech. The first thing that I noticed, and which is very pronounced with Ganesh, was a lack of energy in today's delivery. I felt that your normal bass, your higher bass and your lower bass were not in place in terms of delivery. So I think your narrative, your higher bass in terms of evoking louder emotions, and your subtle bass in terms of evoking introspection, anxiety, I think those things didn't fall in place. The opening statement at its very best indicated a lack of energy, the first thing that struck me. And the other thing was, after saying goodbye, your goodbye was on the extreme right of the stage. So when you have a stage and you're waving goodbye, you're normally on the left side of the stage. So that was the other thing. While the murder was seen, there was the R that came in. That has to be a lower bass with a louder shrill. I thought the sound was missing. Yes, beautiful usage of words. Brutally murdered on the London cold. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. The key aspect that I want to point before leaving the stage is that both the emotions, louder emotions such as frustration, the louder emotions of frustration, fear, suspense could have been enhanced. The subtle emotions of introspection, despair, hopelessness could have been portrayed better. Otherwise, a gripping story, holding the audience to its closure, well done. I'm looking forward to hearing you speak.
That was a superb evaluation. I would like to add anything except complimenting Ganesh for a well-rehearsed, practiced, drafted and delivered talk. Normally we don't find such kind of efforts being put in advanced talks by many of them. I'm glad Ganesh has rehearsed the talk and has tried to give his best. That's apart from what was said by the evaluator.